So 92% of children who went to camp have said that the camp has helped them build their self-esteem. 60% of alumni that have went to camp report improved performance, teamwork, and leadership skills after camp. So these aren't just feel-good numbers. Self-esteem, resilience, the ability to work with others, these are outcomes that follow kids into adulthood. Camp creates a context where kids can take social risks at low stakes in a supportive environment.
And it's always just that pressure to be better than the next or to fit in. So to be able to just break away from that and be a kid, be yourself, and be around like-minded individuals as well, it is really important when you're growing up.
Camp teaches a lot of independence and life skills.
It's the Ryan P. Miller Show!
Just a note about this episode. Julie and I do have an infant at home, and we were interrupted a few times when we thought he was taking a nap and he was wide awake. So this did take us a few days to record with a few different recording sessions. So some of the audio is inconsistent. So I apologize for that. Enjoy the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Ryan P. Millett Show. I'm Ryan, and with me, as always, is Julie.
Hi, guys. Glad to be here.
So today we're diving into something that is on the mind of a lot of parents right now as school winds down, and that's summer camp.
So whether you're scrambling to figure out if your kid is even ready for an overnight away from home, or if you've got a 10-year-old who's practically counting down the days, then this episode is for you.
Yeah, because the summer camp isn't just a babysitting solution. There's a lot of research behind this, and it's pretty remarkable. Kids who attend well-run camps come back more confident, more resilient, and more socially capable. We'll get into all of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to break down. We also know it can be pretty overwhelming as a parent. Lots of questions run through your head, such as which camp, how long, what if they cry at drop-off? What if I cry at drop-off? That's definitely some of my own concerns that run through my own head. We're going to be covering all of that today.
Absolutely. So this episode is brought to you by Evolve Property Management. And Julie, I can say over the past week or so, I've really appreciated that we do use Evolve.
Yeah, it definitely became very clear this past week after we had a guest stay. And basically, they were not truthful in terms of their stay. I just happened to be driving by the property and I saw that there was a dog in the yard, and they did not say that they were bringing pets. And we have a pet fee. So obviously, this pet fee was not paid. And Ryan, you contacted Evolve just to update them of that information.
Yeah, and it was really great because one of the stress points of having a short-term rental is dealing with problems that come up when you have guests. And I can say that in this situation, I gave Evolve a call, and they have a call center, and they have people that are working 24/7. So you can just call them up. I said what the situation was. They handle all the bookings and billing. So they just took the ball from there, and they called the guests, and they made arrangements to get the pet fee taken care of. I will say that the guest wasn't that cooperative, and they still haven't paid the pet fee. But Evolve said that, you know what, we said we'd take care of it, and we're going to cover the pet fee. So they really took that whole situation off of our plates, and we just made a quick phone call, let them know, and they kept us updated. But we really didn't have to interact with a guest in regards to that situation, which really is probably one of the biggest stress points of having a rental property, is just having tough conversations with guests.
Yeah, that would have been a very uncomfortable situation or conversation, whether it was just us calling the guest or going to the property. So to be able to just tell Evolve, hey, this is the situation, this is the problem that we have. And then for them to just be like, yep, we're on it. And then they just updated us of the final solution. We just wiped our hands clean and they took care of the problem for us. So having Evolve, and especially in this type of situation that arises, was fantastic. We didn't even have to deal with it.
Yeah, and I can really say situations like this is why that we have them as a sponsor, and that we really lean on using Evolve for our short-term rental. We get to have all the great conversations with the guests when they're happy, but when stuff goes wrong, we do have that call center, and we have a support team, and it's been really wonderful.
Yeah.
This podcast is also brought to you by my new book, The Safe School Bus Ride, a guide for parents and children. This is a children's book in rhyme with fun images that also has talking points for parents or educators to stop and discuss school bus safety topics with their kids. And I have to say, Julie, that we're getting into the summertime. You have a lot of kindergartners or future kindergartners that are getting ready to start school for the first time. Really, those little kiddos are why I wrote this book. So if you have a child that is about to be a kindergartner, this book can really make that transition a lot easier when they get on that school bus.
Yeah, that first day of school, a big yellow school bus can be exciting, but also a little scary. This is the time of year to prep them for it. Having the Safe School Bus Ride is a great book to prep them a summertime, summer vacation, get them comfortable before the school year begins.
Yeah, you mentioned crying at a drop off for a summer camp. And I can say from experience that first day of school for kindergartners, there's a lot of parents and kids crying. Some kids are excited, some kids are very nervous. And this is just a tool to help that transition, make that child more confident getting on the bus. They know what to do. And it makes that parent more confident knowing that their child is ready.
Yes, 100%.
All right. So, our big topic for today is summer camps. I just wanted to go through some numbers. Let's start with some perspective on just how massive the summer camp world in America is, because I think it's bigger than most people realize.
Yeah, let's hear the numbers.
So, about 14 million kids attend summer camps annually. If you add up all the youth participating in structured summer opportunities like day camps, overnight, enrichment, summer school, that's 30 million children in 2024, per Gallup National Summer Learning Association survey. School-age children in the U.S. was 55 million, meaning that 45% still aren't accessing structured summer enrichment. Summer camp market value is 20 billion in the U.S., projecting to reach 37 billion by 2033. So going back to that 45% still aren't accessing structured summer enrichment, kids learn all year during the school year. And then during the summer, they go home and they still need to be stimulated. It's really important for kids to play and have fun. But for 2.5 months, if they're just sitting around not getting the stimulation that they need, then they're falling behind on children that do go to summer camps or participating in some kind of structured youth program over the summer.
Yeah, they're missing out 2.5 months to be away from school. You're not getting that education. And if they're classmates that are, then you're getting behind the ball. And really, the only reason why we have such a long summer without school, wasn't it in regards to farming, is why we have summer break in the first place, and your everyday family or kid isn't out on the farm tending to the fields and animals.
Well, we came from European Anglo-Saxon immigrants for the most part during the formation of the United States. And a lot of the crops that Europe harvests, you need to do your crop and then you need to give the soil a break and then you reintroduce the crop. So that was introduced in the philosophy of raising children. A lot of Europeans thought that if you give children too much enrichment or too much stimulation over the year, then they'll burn out, which really isn't the case. But there was just a philosophy coming from Europe because of how they manage the soil. They basically handle child schooling like they would handle a crop that would be common in Europe. But we're not dealing with potatoes, we're dealing with children. So children actually do need stimulation all year round. That is a philosophy that took hold, and it got entrenched in our society. But children do need that stimulation, and they need to learn year round. They don't fizzle out if they receive some sort of education 12 months a year. And traditionally, especially when schools first started, they would really put the kids to work in the summer as well.
Right. Yeah, they need that stimulation, the social interaction, and being able to just be with others and to learn. There's really no reason for them to be off for that long and not getting additional education or stimulation, like you mentioned.
Yeah, and a big part of camp are the diverse amount of friendships that you create. There are kids that are outside of your classroom and your neighborhood, and you get to meet kids that maybe traveled to that camp from a different part of the country or a different part of the state. It's more than just learning and stimulation over the summer, but you get to meet a more diverse amount of friends and you have friendships that are grown from being very entrenched
Hmm.
in what you're working on instead of just someone you sit next to in math class.
Right. Who lives in the next town over or the same town that you do.
So camps offer a lot of specialized programs depending on the camp. They have STEM, music, language immersion, arts. 60% of camps incorporate some kind of leadership development. 47% of camps offer a 1 week session. The industry has changed a lot. It used to be you either went to a classic outdoor sleepaway camp or you didn't go at all. Today, there are robotic camps, music, theater immersion, surf camps, wilderness survival camps, coding academies. It's pretty extraordinary the variety that they have in camps these days.
I've definitely seen or heard of robotic camps, but coding academies, that's new. It's intriguing. I'm surprised.
Yeah, absolutely. So 80% of camp going families report above medium incomes. About 46% of parents say they struggle to afford camp. This is a really equality issue. It's worth knowing that many camps offer scholarships, sliding scales, and community partnerships, including through local YMCAs, 4-H programs, and nonprofit organizations. If cost is a barrier, it's worth researching before you assume camp is out of reach. And I'd say that we talked about this in the last podcast. The novel that I'm working on that should be coming out this fall, Peter Marlowe, 30% of the proceeds from that novel will be going to one of these programs to help kids go to camp if the parents can't afford it.
Yeah, that's great. There's a lot of families that would love to have their kids go to camp, or I'm sure kids want to go themselves, but unfortunately, financially, they're just not able to make it work. I have different organizations that are able to help out families, as you mentioned, makes a huge difference. And to be able to have proceeds from the upcoming book go to support that is really wonderful.
Yeah, and I think especially recently, over the last year or two, inflation is really hitting pretty hard. Definitely, even if you're penny pinching, a lot of people are that even weren't a year ago. Go seek out those scholarships and talk to camps. Don't just dismiss that you might not be able to afford it. They may have a program that can help you out or partially help you out. So it's really worth looking into that for your child or children.
Yeah, definitely reach out. You might be surprised.
So next, I just wanted to talk about some research of why camps are so important. One of the things we talked about is just getting that education and stimulation over the summer is just so important for your children. So a lot of parents ask themselves, is camp actually worth it or is it just expensive fun? So the research is very clear on this. And the answer is yes, in a meaningful way, that camp is worth it. A big part of this, like we mentioned earlier, is social and emotional development. So 92% of children who went to camp have said that the camp has helped them build their self-esteem. 60% of alumni that have went to camp report improved performance, teamwork, and leadership skills after camp. So these aren't just feel-good numbers. Self-esteem, resilience, the ability to work with others, these are outcomes that follow kids into adulthood. Camp creates a context where kids can take social risks in low stakes in a supportive environment.
Yeah, it really helps to develop their social skills and just emotionally. It's really one of the few places kids can just be kids without their phones, without worrying about grades, and without social media comparison, especially nowadays. That's huge of just you go on Instagram and it's like, oh, the latest styles, or so and so has this, so and so has that. And it's always just that pressure to be better than the next or to fit in. So to be able to break away from that and be a kid, be yourself, and be around like-minded individuals as well, it is really important when you're growing up.
Yeah, the average number of days that a typical child spends indoor each year is 233 days. I remember being a kid.
Oh my gosh.
It is. That's just an insanely high number of days. I remember being a kid and being outdoors every day, even in the wintertime, go play in the snow. So let that number sink in. 233 days indoors. Summer camp is one of the most direct antidotes to that reality. It gets kids outside, moving, engaging face to face, things that are genuinely harder to replicate in other summer activities. What do they say nowadays? Go touch grass.
Yeah, go touch some grass.
So Camp teaches a lot of independence and life skills, managing belongings, a schedule, decisions without parents, navigating conflicts with peers without adult intervention, trying new activities without the social pressure of their regular school friend group, asking for help from unfamiliar adults, which is a very real world skill. So camps give kids a practice life. It's a contained world where the stakes are lower, but the experiences are real. For many kids, especially those who are shy or anxious, it becomes the moment something clicks about what they're capable of.
Yeah, and it's just giving them the opportunity to have that independence. They're putting on their big kid pants, but it's a practice. They're in that safe environment where there's no pressure. It just allows them to grow a little bit more and talk freely. It makes a huge difference. You know, how you were saying that practice life just gives them a taste of the real world, but it's not as scary.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can say that, well, so kids nowadays, they have very comfortable life and kids really will rise to the occasion and will often mature to the level they need to be. If put in situations that allow them to do that, a regular life is just very comfortable and they don't get to experience that. A few hundred years ago, 12-year-olds were leading, they were officers in the military leading men into battle. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but kids can rise to an occasion more than I think we believe them to. So summer camp really allows them to have different experiences and get out of their comfort zone and grow a little bit as people.
Or even just helping them get out of the house and spending less than 233 days inside.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So studies show that the benefits of camp don't just evaporate when kids come home. Alumni report that the confidence, independence, and relationship skills developed at camp persist for months and often years later. High quality camp experiences have also been linked to better academic performance. And interestingly, the research shows that the strongest developmental outcome come from longer stays. A week is great, 2 to 4 weeks can be transformative. And camps that focus on the arts have a 60% higher satisfaction rate than other camps. If your child is a creative kid who doesn't thrive in sports heavy environments, knowing this really matters when choosing your camp.
Yeah, there's different camps for different kids. So it's worth exploring what's available and what is going to be the best environment for your kiddo.
School buses are built to be 70 times safer than a car when involved in a vehicle accident. But when our children are boarding and exiting the bus, it's often the most dangerous part of their day. Children and parents are often not as aware of risks and safety rules of a school bus as they should be. Do you or your child know where the blind spots of a bus are? Or where you should walk to be seen by the bus driver? Or what do in a school bus emergency? Or how to safely cross the street in front of a school bus? A safe school bus ride was written to give both parents and students a knowledge to build safe habits around their school bus. Let's keep these kids safe. Pick up your copy today.
Ever feel like managing a vacation rental is like juggling flaming swords while riding a unicycle? Say hello to Evolve, proven profits. Less pressure, more cash flow for your vacation rental. With AI-powered dynamic pricing and human touch, $10,000 damage protection and $1 million liability insurance, and dedicated performance advisor. Increased listing exposure. Perfect for anyone who's tired of rental chaos. Use the link in show notes for a $200 management credit.
The Ryan P. Miller Show. Let's go.
All right, so you guys are sold on camp. So now what? Choosing the right camp is honestly the most important decision in this whole process. A bad fit can create a negative experience that makes kids reluctant to try again. And a great fit can be life-changing. How do we find the best one? Start with your child, not the brochure. So let's ask some questions. What does your child generally love to do? And then build off of that. Are they shy or outgoing? Do they need structure? Or do they thrive with free time? Are your kids ready for overnight? Or is day camp a smarter first step? Have they spent nights away from home before? Sleepovers with relatives, etc.? How are they in that type of situation? These are all different factors that you want to look at before coming to that decision of which camp is best for your child.
Yeah, the American Academy of Pediatric Guidance says most children are ready for overnight camp between the ages of 7 and 8, but there are no hard rules. It's really about the individual child's readiness. I may be remembering this wrong, but I remember going only a few weeks before I turned 6. So technically I was 5. And I know that when I did go, that age was eliminated. I was the last of that youngest age group, which still holds today. So I remember being 5, about to be 6. I may be wrong in that. It's the memory of a child, but that's my memory.
You were a baby.
I guess I was.
I guess your mom didn't look at the American Academy of Pediatric Guidance.
No,
Or she was like, that's all right. I'm ready.
could use a break.
He'll be fine. Hi, Jen. So it's definitely important to look at all these different factors, but definitely involve your child in this decision. You know, they're the one that's going to be going to camp, so they might as well be involved in choosing the camp, right? So
Oh, yeah.
research is clear on this. Children who feel forced into camp are significantly more likely to struggle with homesickness and have a negative experience. So definitely let your child browse the camp websites with you. Show them photos and videos, walk them through what a typical day would look like. Their buy-in matters enormously. The best way to see if they're going to be comfortable is to walk them through that typical day, showing them those photos, and they'll be able to make that decision of whether or not they would want to go to that camp.
So we have a few tips for you for what to actually look for. Tip number 1 is accreditation. Look for ACA, American Camp Association accreditation. I had to say that like 5 times. Accredited camps have met over 300 health, safety, and program quality standards. It's not required, but it's a meaningful benchmark.
Tip number 2 is staff ratios and training. So ask about counselor to camper ratios and how staff are trained, especially around mental health support, emergency protocols, and conflict resolution.
Tip number 3 is communication policy. How does the camp communicate with parents? Daily updates, weekly letters. What's the protocol if there's a concern? So know this before you drop off.
Tip number 4 is specialization versus general. A general camp can be wonderful, but if your child has a strong passion for art, coding, horses, theater, a specialty camp may deliver a deeper sense of belonging and purpose for them.
Tip number 5 is talk to other parents. This is underrated. Get referrals from people in your community. Real parent feedback beats any promotional material.
We have to talk with other parents.
I know, it's rough.
Tip number 6 is to visit the camp if possible. So many camps offer open houses or parent visit days. If you can tour the facility and meet staff before committing, do it.
Yeah.
Visiting the camp before your child goes to camp is going to make you as the parent much more comfortable. You can even prep before that drop-off day. Maybe you'll have less tears knowing where you're going to be dropping your kiddo off.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So day camp versus overnight camp. So you want to figure out what's best for your child. Day camps are an excellent entry point, especially for younger kids or first-timers. They offer many of the same social and developmental benefits while keeping kids at home at night. If your child hasn't done overnights before, a summer of day camp can be a great bridge year to build confidence for overnight down the road next year.
Yeah, that'll be a nice transition for them. If a kiddo hasn't done overnights before, it can be scary. So having a summer of day camps before they get into that overnight camp would be a real positive for them.
Yeah, definitely. So in our next segment, how do you get ready for camp? So we have some practical prep tips to you get ready as the parent and also to make sure your child is ready for first day of camp. So you've chosen the camp, you've got the deposit in, and now comes the pre-camp season, and how you handle these weeks matters a lot for how your child arrives on day 1. So tip number 1 is talk through a day in the life. Don't just say camp will be fun. Be specific. Show them the schedule, activities, photos of the facility. Kids manage anxiety better when they know what to expect.
Tip number 2, normalize the adjustment period. Tell your child it might feel weird at first, and that's okay. Most kids feel a bit unsettled the first day or two, and then they find their footing. Frame it as part of the experience, not a sign something is wrong.
Tip number 3, practice separation ahead of time. If this is their first overnight experience, build up to it. A sleepover at a friend's house, a night at the grandparents', a weekend away. These build confidence muscles. The more practice they have being away from home, the easier camp will be.
Yeah, even just, go to the grocery store one day, leave your child there for a couple hours, and then come back and pick them up.
Yeah, what could go wrong?
Just kidding.
We're officially not recommending that. For any lawyers listening.
Tip number 4, let them take ownership of prep. So give your child age appropriate tasks, reading the welcome packet, helping choose optional activities, making their packing list. A child who feels ownership over their camp experience arrives more excited and less anxious. I like the concept of a packing list. I would say if a child knows everything that is in their bag and they're comfortable with it, then that's going to make them more comfortable when they arrive at camp. I think it's pretty common or likely for a parent to pack a child's bag, but there's definitely some importance of letting your child be involved in that process so then they know everything that they have when they get to camp.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Tip number 5, build their confidence. Remind them of the times they faced something new and done great. The first day of school, making the team, learning to swim. Camp is one more thing that they're going to conquer. And really, this is the reason why they're going to camp, is to make them confident kids and raise confident adults. So they need to have little wins and challenges to overcome.
Yeah, it only makes them stronger. Now the tips are going into more practical and logistic preparation. Tip number 6, complete all paperwork early. This consists of medical forms, emergency contacts, permission slips, even allergy disclosures. Don't wait until the week before. Camps have a strict intake process, and scrambling is only going to create stress for you as the parent, and you don't want that stress to then pour into your kiddo.
Tip number 7, never change medications right before camp. The American Academy of Pediatrics is direct on this. Camp is not a good place to find out that medication changes are not going well. If medication adjustments are being considered, time them accordingly. Yeah, you don't want to experiment before you go to camp. Have everything dialed in and go there prepared.
Yeah, you definitely don't want any surprises. Tip number 8, communicate any needs to camp staff proactively. Allergies, social anxiety, ADHD, dietary restrictions, a fear of the dark, share it all. Camp staff cannot support what they don't know. Advocate for your child before they arrive, especially in a situation where you have younger kiddos. They're not going to be able to really advocate for themselves, especially if they're going to camp to build their confidence. They're not going to be able to really voice different personal issues that they have going on or certain things that make them scared. They might feel uncomfortable. So as the parent, you want to be on top of this and communicate this to staff early on.
Tip number 9, pack together and make it an event. Involve your child in packing. Go through the packing list together. Let them pick out a new water bottle or a favorite snack or what clothes they're bringing. This builds anticipation rather than dread. And like we said before, they know what's in their bag. So they feel prepared and they feel like they're part of what's going on.
Yeah, I feel like doing this, it's going to make it less likely that they'll be homesick once they arrive at camp because they know what's in their bag. And they packed it with their parents too, so it's special. Tip number 10, pack a comfortable item for first timers. You might want to do something like a family photo, a favorite stuffed animal for younger kids, or even a comfort blanket. These are not weaknesses, they're anchors, and many experienced camp directors actively encourage them.
I remember getting ready for camp when I was a little kiddo, and I had no idea what to expect. And all I could think of was I should pack all my Legos and bring them to camp. This was this is a bad idea, but I specifically remember being a little kid and just thinking this, like, oh, I need to bring all my Legos. And that probably isn't the best comfort item to bring, but I was very excited to bring those with me. And apparently I was talked out of it.
I was going to say, did all of them come with you or they didn't
None
make
of
the
them.
cut?
None of them came with me. Camp's not really a place to play Legos on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, you probably just didn't know what to expect. So you were like, I got to bring everything.
Oh, yeah. I had no idea what camp was going to be like. I was like, I can't be a week without my Legos.
Yeah, You're just like, what's the procedure? I got to bring all my Legos.
So, a note on letters and communication: many overnight camps encourage or require old school letter writing. If your camp allows it, consider pre writing a few letters or postcards before your child leaves so they arrive during those first few days when they need them the most. It doesn't have to be long, just a line or two that says, "We're proud of you and we can't wait to hear everything. We're thinking about you and miss you," but just so they hear from you, especially they're going to be homesick the first day or two. So, suddenly getting a letter might be pretty amazing.
Yeah, I remember getting letters when I was away at camp. It's definitely special just to have some familiar words from my mom and dad. And sometimes in the first couple days, you might feel a little lonely or just overwhelmed, feeling a little homesick. So a little handwritten note from home is nice. All right, let's talk about the part that no one warns you about: drop off day, because sometimes it's the parent who struggles more than the kid does. So, for drop off day tips, tip number one is to keep your own goodbye upbeat and confident. Kids take emotional cues from parents. So, if you look devastated, they're going to feel the same way. So, you want to make sure you're positive and giving off good vibes to your kids on drop off day.
Yeah, make your goodbye short and sweet, lingering, or making a second or third loop back just makes things a lot harder for both of you. So just say your goodbye, tell them you love them and you'll see them soon, and just leave from there. But yeah, you don't want to prolong that.
Tip number three is to hold off on the water work. So, really try not to cry in front of them if you can help it. Maybe go to the parking lot first. You don't want to have those tears in front of the kiddos because then they're going to feel that emotion as well.
And fourth tip is avoid the call me anytime promise. If the camp has limited communication policy, it creates unrealistic expectations, and you don't want them to think about that. You want them to focus on being at the camp. They could be upset if you said that and then they weren't able to contact you. So it's a lot easier to just let them focus on enjoying the camp and don't make promises that may not be realistic.
Yeah, and a lot of times at camps, you don't have the best cell service either. So I could see that being a challenge.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if kids will have cell phones at the camp, but they didn't have cell phones when I was at camp, so I don't know how that works, but we certainly didn't have charging ports in the tents.
Different times for sure, but good points. And our last tip is to trust that the camp staff knows what they're doing. Most of them are going to be trained specifically in supporting new campers through those first few hours. So we want to have faith and trust in the camp staff because they obviously do this weekly, and some of them have been on for multiple seasons. So they have seen kids get emotional, parents get emotional. So trust that they're familiar with that process and they're going to provide that comfort for your kiddos when you leave and spend the next half an hour crying in your car.
Well, here's a stat that should actually reassure you. Research by psychologist Dr. Christopher Thumber found that 83% of campers reported homesickness on at least one day of camp. That means homesickness is the norm, not the expectation. Your child is not broken if they miss home. So that's very human. The vast majority of homesickness cases resolve within a day or two. Kids can get swept into activities, make a connection with a bunkmate, have a moment where they laugh so hard they forget to be sad. It really makes them turn a corner and focus on the camp.
Right. Yeah. In the first couple hours, I'm sure they start to get a taste of camp life. And in a positive way, they forget that homesick feeling and are really looking forward to what the camp has in store.
Oh, definitely. And kids are more adaptable than we give them credit for.
Yes, absolutely. And they're definitely like sponges with learning and then also just the area around them. So if the camp has a bunch of activities, everybody's feeling good, then they're going to feel that way as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So the number one mistake that parents make, the American Camp Association calls it the pickup deal. It's actually the most common mistake they see. When your child asks, "What if I feel homesick?" It's tempting to say, "If you really feel bad, I'll come get you." Do not say this. It sounds supportive, but it plants a mental escape hatch that undermines their ability to push through. Instead, you should really say something like, "It's okay to feel homesick. Most kids do, and you're going to work through it. And I'll be right here when camp ends."
So when to actually be concerned? Most homesickness is uncomfortable but not dangerous. but in about 7% of cases, it can become severe. Watch for signs that the camp may communicate: not eating, not sleeping, signs of depression, or significant anxiety that isn't lifting. In those cases, trust your instincts. It's okay to bring a child home and try again next year. Don't let them feel like a failure. Reframe it as you learned something important about yourself and we'll try again. So, 3 things to do this week. If you're still trying to choose a camp, have a 15-minute conversation with your child about what they want from the summer. So let them lead. Second one is, if you're already registered, start the prep process now. Walk through the schedule, start a packing list, do a practice overnight. So no matter what time of year you're listening to this, it's important to get ahead and get as far into it as you can. So don't procrastinate and get as much done as early as you can. Number 3, if drop off is coming up, write a letter or postcard now and pack it in their bag so it arrives in a few days. So it's really important for them to get a letter from you in the first day or two, because that's when homesickness is the worst. All right, so Julie, you went to summer camp as a child. Tell me about your experiences with that.
Yeah, I actually went to summer camp for several years. Seems like it was so long ago, but it really was some of the most special experiences that I've had. The majority of the summer camps I went to were all for Girl Scouts. So it was all girls, similar ages, and for the most part, it was all fairly local within New York. And I went to some day camps, did some overnight camps.
So how many camps did you go to?
I don't even know. I probably went to roughly 3 to 5 different camps. Some I went to multiple times and went back for years to come. I remember one camp I went to, it was called Camp Ashoda, and this was a popular Girl Scout camp. I would go with my Girl Scout troop, and we would spend the weekend together. We would spend the nights in little either tents or it was a hut. So that was really fun. You know, of course, sleeping bags, whatnot.
You went with the same group of girls like you went with your Girl Scout troop? So you knew all your tent mates already?
Yeah, for the most part. A lot of times we would all go together. We would camp out together. I did go to other camps where it was just myself and maybe another friend or two of mine. And that one was Silver Bay, I remember.
What was your favorite experience at a summer camp? Do you have one particular that stands out?
That's a good question. I will say Silver Bay Camp. That was further in upstate New York. It was honestly, we weren't really entirely camping. It was this huge summer camp for Girl Scouts. And we were more so in this like huge house, but it was like a kind of like a Victorian style. So it wasn't really camping much at all. But
So you went
it was
to
just a lot of
you went
fun.
to a Girl Scout hotel?
Actually, now that I think about it, I'm not even sure if it was Girl Scouts.
So you went to a hotel at one point when you were a kid.
Would you ask me my favorite experience?
What's your favorite experience?
I would say my favorite experience is just meeting different people, being with campers all week, and just being able to do different activities. I would probably say an experience that stands out is just gathering around the campfire at night with the whole camp and just sitting around the fire, listening to campfire stories and doing sing-alongs, roasting marshmallows and having s'mores. I think that really stands out for me, and just to me, that's what screams camp. And I think all the other activities, being in the mess hall together or going into the woods and doing a hike, those are just experiences that sit with you for the rest of your life and years to come. And then you just think back on that and reminds you of a simpler time, but definitely something that brings back some nice memories.
I went to one summer camp, Camp Wayaka.
I'm just a camp wanderer.
Yeah, I pretty much stuck with the same camp, but it seems like you really had a great childhood exploring all those camps. So I went to Camp Wayaka for about 16 years. I went as a camper, and then I transitioned to a CIT for the first year, which is a counselor in training, and then a counselor. So yeah, we slept in these huge canvas tents with bunk beds. So there are 8 bunks to a tent. So you had 7 kids and 1 counselor. The kids were all the same age. And it was pretty wonderful. Did a lot of swimming. We had hikes. I remember we used to take overnight canoe trips. We would spend a day going down the Connecticut River and throw our sleeping bags and all of our food and clothes into plastic bags and throw them into the canoe. And then we would canoe all day down the Connecticut River and then sleep somewhere down there overnight. And we would paddle back for a day, and someone would pick us up in some vans.
Gosh, really? That's so cool. Yeah, absolutely. Mm. Yeah, it really shapes who you are and who you become as an adult, and just special experiences that you get to carry with you through life. Mm. Yeah, I remember you said you went rock climbing with the group, and those are really fun different activities to do. Nice. Yeah, to have a camp that you grew up going to as a child from the age of 5, the ripe young age of 5, and then on through middle school, high school, and becoming a staff member and leading these trips with other campers is really special. And obviously, it holds a special place in your heart for you to continue working there, even when you couldn't be a camper anymore.
Yeah, we did a lot of fun stuff. And talking about the Peter Marlowe story, I mentioned that they used to tell this story at Camp Wayaka, and that's the foundation for the novel that I'm writing. But what I didn't say in previous episodes was that at Camp Wayaka, up until I think the late 80s or early 90s, we used to take this long hike to this abandoned cellar hold, 150 years old, and they would tell us that that was the cellar hole of Peter Marlowe's farmhouse. So we used to take this long walk in the dark, and it was just all the kids that wanted to hear the story. If you didn't want to go, you didn't have to. There'd be a group that would stay back and maybe watch a movie in the dining hall or something. So all these kids, we would go and hike. I remember it being kind of a long hike, but it may not have been as long as I thought. As a kid, I remember it being a significant hike out to the cellar hole. And we would all gather at this abandoned cellar hole. And this gentleman, he was older and he told the Peter Marlowe story for decades. And this gentleman would meet us out there and he would tell us the story.
It was like a bit of a thriller.
They would start with 2 ghost stories. They weren't always the same every year. They were just campfire ghost stories. And they would end with the Peter Marlowe story, which was probably a 20-minute story. And it was pretty scary, especially you're sitting there in the dark as the story is being told. And then we would all hike back, and there'd be staff members hiding in the woods trying to scare us as we're hiking back.
Hearing this story, you're probably petrified.
But it was a lot of fun. I remember being pretty scary. I found it a pretty cool thing. I'm sure there are kids that may have been pretty scared. You didn't have to go, but I'm sure they got some complaints from parents. Then after it was the late 80s, they transitioned to telling it on a hilltop closer to the camp. We would then take a 5 or 10 minute hike into the woods and on top of this hilltop, and they would tell the story from up there. I think they just deemed the abandoned cellar to be pretty unsafe, especially for us as kids gathering around there in the dark. That was probably a pretty dangerous thing to do, but it was very nostalgic to do it at that location. Then I was told at around 2011, they stopped telling the story entirely. They deemed it a little too scary for kids.
Doesn't fly nowadays.
They probably get some calls from parents when their kids coming back kind of traumatized. But again, I found it to be a wonderful experience. But everybody interprets things a little bit differently. And sometimes kids feel a little peer pressure to go when they're not actually ready. So, but yeah, unfortunately, they no longer tell that story at Camp Wayaka, which kind of breaks my heart a little bit.
So the bottom line is summer camp at its best is a place where your child gets to discover who they are when you're not in the room. That's not a scary thing. That's one of the greatest gifts you can give them. 14 million kids will experience that this summer, and we really hope that yours is one of them.
Thank you for joining us today. Please subscribe and leave a review. Be good, be safe, and be good to save to others. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening in today to the Ryan P. Mallett Show. Come what may. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe, leave a review, and share the vibe. We'll see you next time. Hope you're doing well. Until then.